Hello and welcome back to Warrington Basketball. Today we are joined by Nick Ibberson, who is the Regional Talent Manager for Basketball England, the Aspire programme, and also a coach for the Lancashire Spinners. How are you, Nick? You okay?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Josh?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be talking a bit about the Aspire setup and everything you're doing. I'll let you sort of introduce it and we'll go from there.
Okay. How did I get into this job as Regional Talent Manager? It sort of followed on from the work that I'd done as an assistant coach with national teams over 15, 16 years, and I got headhunted into the role of performance coaching coordinator, following on from Jim Carnegie. And then the role changed slightly and the name changed, and I carried on in that. And then the post was advertised 2 years ago, and I applied again, and I was accepted as the Regional Talent Manager for the Northwest to look after coaching and try to improve what was going on, and to look after the Aspire programme and try to produce more international athletes.
Yeah.
And that's it in a nutshell.
So what, for those that are watching, obviously we get quite a few that are kind of sort of the local league level that might not really be much involved with the National League and the bigger picture. Explain a bit about what it is you guys are doing and what your sort of main roles are.
Well, I think that the first thing we would like to do is we would like to get more engagement with clubs who play Manchester Area Basketball League. We'd certainly like to get more engagement with Warrington Basketball Centre, Reddish, Oldham, and Bury. I mean, I go to Bury and Spinners play out of Bury. And we know that there are coaches down there who were either just setting out, or have been doing it for a while but a bit set in the ways, and we would like to improve those coaches, and Kate Lewis and I are working to do that now. You know, coaches in practice, if you haven't got coaches, then where do the players go to play? And how do they get better? So we need more coaches, and coaches perhaps need to recognise that we're the servants of the players. We have to help the players get better. You send your kids to school, you expect a teacher to do the best for the children. And we as coaches should be doing the best for the children who are playing. And sometimes egos get in the way. And I'm sure you've heard Tom say that, and Kate said that at times. We're the servant of our players. We're trying to produce a generation of basketball citizens, to quote Sergio from Manchester. And agreed, most of them are never going to get outside the local league, let's be honest. But we want to enjoy what they do and help them get better. And that's it. So
I know off camera we spoke about some of the stuff that they're doing in the East, and sort of the coaching clinics that they're doing, obviously during the COVID stuff. We spoke about how you've actually mailed out to quite a few of the teams and then not heard anything back. Tell us a bit about that. And obviously what we'll do is we'll add in your contact details for those that are watching.
Okay, when COVID-19 came in and lockdown was in place, Basketball England sort of changed our job description. One of the consequences of that was that all the clubs registered in Basketball England were emailed by me. Initially, that was to say, how can we help? And there is funding from Sport England. If you are in trouble, do you want to access it? We'll help you get ready. And there's a guy at Basketball England who's all set up to try and help you with your application and move it forward. only 4 clubs in the Northwest took that up. Manchester, Mersey Mavs, Barrow and Chorley.
Yeah.
Now, whether my email went into somebody's spam box, I couldn't say. I know it goes into a friend of mine's spam box and he retrieves it on a regular basis. But following that up, I also emailed out to the same group of clubs, and this time we included the university clubs because they weren't eligible for the Sports Council funding, being not in session and all that, and asked them how we could help in terms of training for table officials and referees. I think it was referees, might have been coaches, it was one or the other. Email went out, no replies. So if we're not getting responses when we're asking, it's difficult to actually put something on online or eventually live. We've tried to put on coaching clinics. We put one on last September 21st. Again, we emailed out. We had 9 coaches attend. There were more referees because there was at least 1 hour's joint session with the referees where coaches and referees could talk. But we will do whatever it takes to engage with our coaches. Our Aspire sessions are open, and any coach who wants to come along and see what we're doing is welcome. We'll always try to get them out on the floor if we can, under the guidance and tutelage of the head coach. So if anybody wants to come along to an Aspire session, and there ought to be some when we come out of COVID, we have to finish off last year's sessions, and we will be doing that. Can't guarantee what the shape of Aspire will look like or what would have been the 2006s to 2009s. We have a duty to finish off with our 2005 to 2008s. We owe them 3 sessions, and we'll do that. And then we'll decide how we can tackle the 2006 to 2009s. The process for getting into Aspire is we normally ask all coaches, particularly National League coaches, but we will ask schools coaches if they are part of the school setup on Basketball England, if they have any players they think that we should look at. In which case we'll invite them to trials and we'll look at this, and this is both boys and girls. And then unfortunately we have to chop it down to 25 because that's all that's manageable for us. We have to work. We work out of Manchester Metropolitan University. They are the Northwest hub. They provide us with facilities, and they provide us with some sports science help and S&C help and stuff like that. We've got 2 of their students now working online with our Aspire players in Zoom meetings twice a week, following through on Basketball England's return to play S&C program, so that there isn't too much loading when everybody finally starts up. So we do as much as we possibly can with the young people who we think are capable of moving to the next level, because that's the purpose of Aspire.
Yeah.
Callum Jones is at MMU, so I work closely with Cal, and MMU get stuff out of it, but they don't get huge amounts of money. They get training for the people who are involved with us, who can get themselves then involved as volunteers, as physios, if they're on a physio sports science type course.
Yeah.
For instance, the 3 countries tournament that went on in Christmas last year at the National Performance Centre.
Yeah.
So that's a 2-way shot. But we really want to dig down and improve our coaches.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us, it's something that I'm a little bit interested in. So your other side of the coin, the Lancashire Spinners coaching, so the girls team that you coach. Tell us sort of how that come about, and obviously with us, we're trying to develop a purely women's league at the moment for when we start back up. Sort of give us a bit about your background for that, and then your advice for that, please.
Well, I've got a long history in women's basketball. It goes back nearly 50 years, which is a long time to be involved at this level. And it was one of my passions, and is my passion. I was fortunate to get involved in national teams through Ian Day, with Ian Day as the head coach. And that's probably, Ian's playing career was probably a bit before your time, Josh. But he was one of the best point guards in the 70s and 80s for England and GB. And he's always been a guy who likes a challenge. And in the late 90s, girls basketball was just restarting after a very difficult period in the late 80s and early 90s. And Ian was coaching in Doncaster, and I coached in Doncaster, and he and I got together and decided that we'd have a go at getting girls basketball international level on the map in England. And we were fortunate. Joe Leadham, Jenny Leadham were in our squads, and others who were Chantal Handy, who are, they're Joe and Shan are involved today in the GB Women. Siobhan Pryor was there. Georgia Jones was a couple of years behind in the programme that we started. And we would travel all around England, going to places who'd give us a free court, putting on clinics for the local girls, and then having the following day to work with our squads.
Yeah.
And develop national team players. And our emphasis then was on skills.
Yeah.
Because our young players need to develop those skills. And whilst that was expensive to sustain, that particular group became the first group to win they didn't win, they lost to Spain, but they qualified for the next round of the European Championships as it was then. And that was in 2002 and 2003. And as I said, a lot of those girls still playing today, playing pro in Europe, and really very good players. And we still stay in touch. But that really was the icing on the cake. And then I was involved as an assistant coach further down the line with England under-15s, and at the same time trying to bring together players in Bury to play, firstly for Bury Blue Devils, develop them in school and out of school, and get them playing. And Bury Blue Devils, which moved into Lancashire Spinners, now has teams in Division 2 women, and under-16 and under-14 teams, and also plays in MABL as Holy Cross Angels. And these are all young girls. We do have some older women who've stayed around. But we work together. We're not necessarily the best team because we have limited practice time like most teams. But it's a question of going out, forming relationships and communicating with girls. There's a lot of goodwill out there from young girls who want to play, but you have to, it's not like coaching boys.
No.
Very different. And I spoke to Joe Forber about this when he decided to take over the women's program at Mystics. It's very, very different, and it's very much about personal relationships. And getting to know the girls and getting on with the girls and having good communications. But if you can do that, then they will give everything. They're less concerned about winning and losing, although they like winning, but they are more concerned about the group dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really important. You've got to get those right. If they're not right, it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah. What do you think for the younger ages? Same concept.
Yeah, I think so. But what I would say to every coach out there, last night I spent some time on YouTube in a earwigging in on a Zoom meeting held by Sir. Do you know Sergio, or have you heard of him at Manchester?
I've heard of him. Yeah, I don't know him. I've never spoken to him.
Right, Sergio has a PhD now. He was a Spanish guy who came over to England, played in Liverpool, moved to Manchester, started coaching, and then went off to Leeds Beckett University. And he now has a PhD, not in coaching in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
but he's one of the mainstays of a program called I Coach Kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's well worth looking at some of their material.
Yeah.
Now, he was also involved in designing the player development framework,
mm-hmm.
which all coaches, especially coaches of young players, should have a good look at and read.
Yeah, I'll link that in as well.
Yeah, it's a PDF. It's about 30-odd pages. It involved consultations with a lot of European countries, and it talks about how you should be coaching 10-year-olds, what you should be looking at. It's a recipe for success.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get down with our young players early enough. You know, I've had we had a coach who came in and coached Northwest under-13s, the girls, and she said, if I was at home, she was an Eastern European, if I was at home, this is the sort of stuff we would have been doing when these girls were 5 or 6.
Wow.
And in that sense, we're way behind.
Yeah.
And the philosophy of coaching is changing. It's changing in the same way that in schools teaching's changed. When I went to school, you did as you were told, and if you didn't, you got a thick ear.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if you try and give somebody a thick ear in school, they scream child abuse.
Yeah.
And in a sense, it's become teaching, but getting the children to enjoy what they're doing and taking control of their own learning.
Mm-hmm.
And the PDF player development framework explores that, but also somewhere on YouTube there will be last night's talk, and that it involved the United States junior coach Don Showalter and Sergio giving us their points of views on how to coach young people. Mm-hmm. And how they would take control of their own learning and what they would do and how they did it. And it was very interesting, you know, to see that there were like minds both in the States and this country about how the game should be taught. Obviously, the US has a much wider participation net. Mm. We have to grow our game in that way, and we will grow our game in that way if we can make provision for under-10s and if we can get them to enjoy the game.
Yeah.
And small-sided games and coaching, game-based coaching, which is the buzzword now, where children are mainly playing and players are mainly playing, rather than I'll run this drill and it's 1v0 and you have to stand and wait in line for 5 minutes and you haven't got a ball and you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Those days, I think, are numbered. I mean, boys and girls nowadays are on the internet, on YouTube, gaming, this, that, and the other, and they never have a dull moment.
No.
And we have to adapt our coaching in that fashion with plenty of balls, or small-sided games where they can make mistakes and learn.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can stop them and put in a little session on how to do this, a little bit of ball handling. And there's massive, massive demand. And in all honesty, lots of clubs, if they put on community sessions, and this is what I was talking to with one of the other talent managers recently, and I do it at Spinners, we have a Wednesday night session, and it's £3 for an hour, which is a bit like ball hall prices.
Mm.
And we bring in as many children as we can who wish to come. And we've had between 30, you just do the maths, 5, 10, 30-ish kids in our sports hall, playing small-sided games across court, doing individual skills and getting lots of playing time, playing games like Bulldogs where they can put that those skills, those dribbling skills into practice to avoid the person who's going to try and tag them and get them out or try and steal the ball. And they love things like that.
Yeah.
And from that, girls progress into our girls program. Boys go ahead and join our boys program. They go down and play at the Barry Ball Hall. And I work quite closely with Gary Davis down there. And he will send me players to work with in that level, boys and girls. And he will recruit teams to go into the ball hall from our practices. Now, in a sense, COVID-19 has messed all that up.
Yeah.
But when it comes back, it's a way to go and it's a way to recruit players. But you have to work, as I said, player development framework is crucial.
Yeah.
So, we'll work with any coaches who want to be worked with. Kate and I are up for that.
Good. We'll be looking to try and get a few of our guys involved as well, our coaches at the Warrington leagues.
I'm happy to do a Zoom chat for your coaches.
Yes, please. Yeah.
I'm quite happy to do that. We're responsive, and B don't pay me mega bucks, by the way. Mm-hmm. They say, well, we'll have 8 hours a week from you, and they pay basic rates. But it's my enthusiasm for the game. Yeah. It's never been about the money, and this is the first paid basketball job I have ever had. Mm-hmm. National teams jobs were never paid. Mm-hmm. But we want to respond. I know Kate does. We want to get, if we're going to improve players higher up, we have to make sure the players at the start come in, stay in. We create, as Sergio would put it, basketball citizens. Yeah. We're going to be lifelong members of the basketball community. And that way the game will grow. We can't afford to lose players at any level because we're not doing a good job. Yeah, life will take them away from the game at periods of time, but we want them to come back when they can. Mm-hmm. And we desperately want more female coaches. Yeah. Agreed. So if you've got any females down in the ball hall who want to coach basketball, send them my way and we'll do whatever we can to get them going. And I'm quite happy to travel. Well, that's a little bit more complicated these days. But if I can't travel, I'm sure I can find somebody who will travel and work face to face with your coaches. Yeah,
like I said off camera, we're going to be starting a women's league as soon as we're able to. At the moment, we've got sort of five interested teams. Potentially,
that's great.
So there's our league straight away. Our aim is to try and get a few more female referees and of course female coaches. We'll, if there's, it goes both ways. We'll try and send some out to you guys. But if you've got any women that are are in about, or even anyone that's watching this video that, you know, would be interested in playing, then get in touch.
Well, please. And it doesn't really matter whether they get in touch with you guys. Obviously, we would like that, but any club in the Northwest, and I can find them one. I do get occasional inquiries. It's a bit difficult sometimes at Spinners because we play in National League 2. We use our Manchester League team to get our young girls to transition into women's ball. So we did run a recreational session 9 till 10 on a Wednesday for people who just wanted to come in and dabble around. As I said, COVID's causing me some problems personally because I'm the wrong gender and the wrong age, and also I've got some underlying issues. So I'm really not too keen to go leaping into sports halls at the moment.
Yeah, no.
I am working with our kids. We've got them on outdoor courts, and 1VO is not what I like, as you've heard.
Yeah.
But it's all we've got at the moment.
Yeah. So tell us about what's the long-term goals and future plans? I know it's probably a bit obvious, but give us a bit of detail.
Well, for England and GB?
Yeah.
Okay, well, at the moment, we need to improve the basic levels. Our girls and boys are good. We had 3 boys involved at various times with the England under-15 team last year. We had 4 or 5 girls involved with the England under-15 team last year. Now, that got trimmed down a little bit by the end, but we have very good players and we have to make them better. When I took our club side abroad, we don't do as well as we do in this country. And in fact, when I took them to an under-14 team tournament in Copenhagen, we just got absolutely wiped out in every game by 50, 60 points. Now, we're not mugs. We're not the best in England, don't get me wrong, but we're not mugs. But that is an illustration of how far club teams are ahead of us.
Yeah.
You know, you talk to Tom. Tom gets paid to coach in Sweden and Germany. And that's the nature of it, that the federations have professional coaches, and the coaches have to reach the standards that the federation sets before they're allowed to coach in clubs. Basketball England doesn't have those same resources. We're a volunteer-led body. Yes, Basketball England gets money from Sport England, but Sport England say what it can be spent on.
Yeah.
You know, National League fees that go in basically pay for what they put out in National League basketball and administration and all the rest of it. We have to work with our volunteer coaches and upskill them, and then they will upskill the players. And if we can upskill the players when they're 10 and not have to teach them the same things that they need to do that we're doing now with them when they're 12, that'll be a huge improvement.
Yeah.
So we need to work with you guys in the ball hall to help make it better. And what's happening in Warrington, and what's happened, I mean, John Alliston was involved with Ian Day and I way back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And John and I go back a long way as well. And he coached Spinners at one point, Spinners men in a previous incarnation as Bury Blue Devils, and Matt played for them. So there are signs that we are getting a much better club structure. But we have to make sure that we all want to work together. Yeah. And I'm really heartened by Mersey Mavericks working with the region, and we're getting Liverpool Basketball Club to work with us.
Yeah.
Obviously, Manchester are reaching out more and more, and relationships are getting better there. And 5-10 years ago, people were just fighting for players.
Yeah.
I said to you earlier that we as coaches need to serve the players. And if I've got a good player and she needs to compete at a higher level, I can't be possessive.
Mm-hmm.
Say, look, if you want to achieve what you can achieve, you need to go to this club, this academy, wherever.
Yeah.
And we've sent a couple of girls off, one to Charnwood. One, our 6'2" girl, is going off to Nottingham Academy next year. And they go with my blessing. And we've got a couple of our girls working with the Manchester Academy as well. Because girls and boys only get one shot at this.
Yeah.
They only get one shot at education. And I'm very keen that they realise that their education comes first. Mm-hmm. Because you can't recap and regain that if you give it up to go for basketball. Mm-hmm. Most players are not going to earn a livelihood through basketball. Let's be realistic. Lucky ones will get to the States and may get a free college education out of it.
Yeah.
The girl who went to Charnwood is there now. It's not been plain sailing for her. And of course, COVID's interrupted her progress at the moment. But she will get an education out of it. And that's fantastic for her. She won't end up with £50,000 of debt, which she would have done if she was in England.
Yeah.
If you look at it in that light, boys and girls, if you get lucky, fine, and you can get to play pro. Have you heard of Jack Crook?
I've not, no.
Jack Crook was a Bury boy, played 3 weeks for Bury Blue Devils before Manchester asked us if they could take him on board.
Yeah.
He's 6 foot, 6'6", 6'7", I don't know, maybe taller. Yeah. He used to have to bend down to get under the doors at Elton when he was in school. Oh. And that was when he was 15. And getting him to sit down comfortably at the desk was unbelievable. Magic did a fantastic job with Jack, and he went off to Seattle University. Mm-hmm. And he's now playing pro in, I think, Division 2 in France.
Yeah.
So he's got an education and he's earning a living.
Yeah.
And he's lucky in the sense that he's had the good fortune to have a great chance through Magic to go to a good school in the States like Seattle and then find his way into playing pro in Europe. And I'm delighted for him. He was a lovely guy.
Yeah.
And he still has Bury roots, which is important. Well, it's important to me. But others, they're going to go and get an education out of it. Mm-hmm. That's good too. Mm-hmm. The next step is, when can we actually do something for our 18 to 21-year-olds in this country so that they don't have to go to the States?
Yeah.
Some of them have gone to Europe. Carl Wheatley plays on GB now. He went to an academy in Italy, and he's got a pro coach with that club for another 2 years. Dan Clark, quite well known, went to an academy in Spain and came that way through, I think. But we have to find a way to do that here.
Yeah.
You know, we can't go shipping our brightest and best off to the States And then they come back here and they either stop playing or we lose them because they settle in the States. We have to find a way. And that's a really, really big challenge. And I don't know what the solutions are. There are one or two universities over here who will give, I won't say scholarships, but they will help young players on their way with a couple of $1,000 a year to pay for their university education, and they will give them the likes of the S&C that they need. But it's not the same as getting away and going to an academy in Italy or Spain or off to a school in the States. And there are downsides to the States. We have a lot of transfers, which can't be good at all. Boys and girls will go and they won't get on court. You know, in one sense, from the basketball point of view, if you don't get on court, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know, I've not yet had a chance to look at your interview with Ben Gibson. It was Ben Gibson, wasn't it?
Lawson.
Yeah. I need to look at that. But there is a price to pay, and he's been one of the lucky ones. But I'm sure that he mentioned his work ethic and the price in terms of the hours he had to put in to get to that level and make the most of his talent. But I will be looking at that. It's just, there's a lot happening at the moment.
No, that is, I definitely recommend that interview. It's a really good interview, a good insight. But like you say, a lot of it was down to his hard work and persistence. Really, he was very determined to get where he is now. So I think that plays a massive part.
But that in a sense is the nutshell. You want to succeed, you have to outwork people. There are lots of people around with the level of talent that you have got. So what makes you different? What makes you different is you're going to outwork the others. And that's always been the key to success. I won't say you should go out and train on Christmas Day, but Olympic gold winners, medal winners have done that because they know their opponents aren't training on that day. So it's the amount of time you're prepared to put in to get good and get better. Because let's be honest, how many boys and girls are there playing basketball throughout Europe and throughout the United States? How are you going to prove to a college in the States that you're better than somebody who's actually there?
Already there,
You know, and to be honest, if you're in the States, it's a way out and a way to a better life. Whereas over here, most of us are living in better conditions. Not all, but most are living in better conditions. And if we're not careful, those of our less well-off children, boys and girls, aren't going to get the chance we want them to have. How many guys and girls arrive at the ball hall in Warrington in their mum's or dad's car, get dropped off, mum or dad may stay or go off to the supermarket, and then come back? What about the kids who can't afford to get to the ball hall? And I mean, I know in Manchester are making big efforts, and I know Mersey are making big efforts to work with the less well-off boys and girls to get them involved and help them stay involved. And we can't afford to waste one drop of talent, not one drop. And as I hope you can see, I feel quite evangelical about basketball and about where it needs to go. we need to take all our talent, we need to maximise it, we need to upskill our coaches and work with young boys and young girls to give that love of the game that you've got and I've got, that will see us through and see them through to enjoying the game for life, and for some of them making a living out of it.
Yeah.
That's my passion.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Nick, we'll be working together again soon, and we can start putting stuff in action. Really, obviously, we need to try and get over this COVID-19 stuff first, but we will be working together. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on.
No, it's a pleasure.
We will speak again. We will definitely get some more stuff on, and then like I say, once we're able to, we'll try and get some more footage. Maybe get our heads together and get on court and actually do a bit together, and we'll get some footage of that as well. But yeah, thank you very much, Nick.